67% of people said yes, but I think 30% of people said no. I can vote for someone who was married 3 times.
It could have been just maybe they weren't getting along, just problems like that. Maybe they split up, or it could have been yes, all on the one person was I'm a cheating whore, and the other person.
I understand that not everyone shares the religious viewpoints that marriage is sacred. And even after you legally divorce someone, you're still married to them in the eyes of God. Okay, modern thing. You divorce someone, you get married again. It happens a lot recently, but 3rd time. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a cheating whore. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're some black widower and you killed them all. But I mean, it might be what Zach said. You just didn't work out. You fought a lot. You didn't get along. You decided to end it. But what does that say about that person? That they've made, even if they're happily married this 3rd time, before this they've made 2 different, maybe impetuous decisions where they said, yes, I'm going to love you forever, and I really mean that. No, I didn't really mean that. It kind of displays a bit of a rashness.
Commitment issues.
Yes.
Yeah, but it does depend on the circumstances. Newt Gingrich, even if he shared my views, I would not vote for that terrible, terrible human being. But, and I'm not a big Obama-phile. I'm fairly liberal in my politics, but I don't think he's the greatest. But if he'd been married twice before Michelle, wouldn't influence my opinion of him that much unless it was like, yeah, I knocked up a couple of chicks, married them, and divorced him a few years later. If that was the story, that'd be very different than we fought, we weren't enjoying it, we split up, we didn't have any kids. That tells a different story. It paints a different picture than cheating on 2 different women and then marrying a 3rd and hoping for the best.
It's just really circumstantial kind of question.
Yeah.
How many times my president has been married is not on top of my list for me to know about why
That's not an issue. If a president doesn't have children, will it still want to vote for him? Like, he's not having children himself.
Yeah.
Will it still want to vote for him?
I don't think his having children will have any effect on.
He has not experience with children or how to handle people. So how can he handle a nation if he doesn't have kids?
Well, I think, I mean, you can make the argument that handling the USA is like handling a group of children. And I think you have a pretty strong basis there. But I don't think necessarily your ability to, pick up a child and give him a piggyback ride and teach him how to, ride a bicycle is going to have as much of an effect on how you run the country.
Because my president back home has been married for over 20 years and has no kids.
Is that seen as a negative thing?
I just wanted to know.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe that's a cultural thing, because you were saying,
but he's married, but his wife is barren, but he didn't divorce his wife.
Yeah.
And lived through.
Yeah, but see, that's also a cultural thing. I don't think here most people would assume
over here, I think divorce is kind of accepted.
It's more accepted here, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, infertility would not be assumed as a grounds for divorce here. Which is a different cultural thing. And you were also talking about ruling the country's children, which here it's a pretty easy argument to make, but it's America. But we wouldn't think of it like that. And if anything, I would say that without having kids to worry about, the president would be less distracted. Bush's daughters and their shenanigans probably detracted what. 24% of people in the 2007 survey would not vote for a Mormon. Yeah, they're not ridiculous, like dangerous.
It's like a whole.
But they do. What they call it? But they shun people. They excommunicate people, but not just very rarely. It's very difficult to be excommunicated by the Catholic Church these days. It almost never happens. You'd have to ask to be. But they do it on a pretty regular basis. They shun members who walk away from the church. They do some very cult-like things.
They're also very
secretive.
Yeah, they're also very. If you're in the church, then you're in the church.
You are very deeply rooted.
And it's like a levels kind of thing. I don't know. It's like you start off at the lowest level and you work your way up. And if you sign away your birthright or get excommunicated, then and if you want to come back at a different or whatever, you have to start back at the bottom. My family was Mormon. My dad signed away his birthright in our driveway when I was like 8.
That's sad.
And they would come 3 or 4 times a year and ask. And he had just gotten back from a show in his Black Sabbath tribute band. And so It was about.
That's about the time to leave.
It was about 9
like,
o'clock at night.
whoa.
Or no, he was just leaving. So it was about 8 o'clock at night, and he had
That's a
full makeup, and he had the short black shorts, black t-shirt, briefcase.
Oh my god.
And he was walking up just as the two 19-year-old
Yeah.
people.
They said no young folks.
Yeah, they were any older than 20. And yeah, so he was dressed in full makeup, and they were like, do you just want to, or he's like, what do I have to do to not get contacted about this anymore?
It's like a telemarketer.
Yeah.
Take me off your list.
And so they're like, you can sign away your birthright. He's like, fine. And opens up his briefcase, covered in Judas Priest Black Sabbath stickers. And took out his pen.
Oh my god!
Took out his
Oh my god!
pen that Ozzy gave him when they opened for him. Took out his
amazing.
pen and that had the little skull on top. And signed away his birthright on the back of his car before we went to the show.
Your family, I need to get to know them.
I think it's more of a misconception about the
Yeah.
actual religion.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are just like, oh, they're Mormons, they're crazy.
Yeah, culturally they're actually pretty straight up Protestant. There's nothing that is that crazy about them.
Besides the origin of,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is kind of weird. But
That seems to be a trend in all of our things, like something Chad said. It seems to be a misconception. Like
yeah,
all of these things,
Oh,
like the nose,
yeah.
we can say that, you know, pretty much it's because they're, you know, not as educated.
I'm not familiar with Mormon. I can't honestly say I would vote for a Mormon because I don't know their ideas. I'd have to be more
And
And then
educated.
that's based on if
that
you
may
knew
be
their
something
views.
we'll have to research. If,
Right.
If
Yeah,
when
that's-
it Ronnie gets
Yeah.
It's going to be embarrassing in like a year when it's like Herman Cain.
You'll be Mitt Romney, you can trust me.
Yeah, but I think more than the other ones, atheist, homosexual, I can understand why people would rightly assume that their morals would probably not line up with the Republican Party. This is a trend that it's the Republican Party. But 72 years of age, if they're in ailing health, I would not vote for a qualified liberal who is in ailing health. I would not, whether it's cancer or they're withering away. And it'll be hilarious if Anne lives to like 95. Married for the third time, that could be indicative of moral failings. But Mormonism, well, I completely disagree with it. I mean, that really is just pure bias against them. That is totally unfair.
And if you know the background of how the Mormon Church started, knowing that people believe the things that those people believe might affect whether you think they're reasonable or not. Because the founder of their church claimed to have found these golden tablets buried in Ohio that an angel directed them to. And when you think about that, and that he's the only one who can see them, or read them, and then they magically disappear later, and he's supposed to lead them into some kind of salvation. When you think about people believing those types of things as real, it makes you question their own powers of reasoning.
I don't think that we should trash the entire group because their foundation is loopy. And I don't think that we should just ignore them as potential candidates.
I'm going to go back to what Sarah said about how Mormons have a weird background. Okay, so do Catholics. They believe that some God created the earth out of nothing.
In defense, though,
Stop.
let's just drop it.
No, I'm gonna take control. Okay, so I'm sorry to completely take away this on the floor, but I know what you're saying. I don't think that we can be prejudiced to people of a certain belief because their religious background, which will probably have some effect on their politics. The foundation of that religion was crazy because it'll just turn into a mess. And well, you know, Lutherans, they follow that God. He was not even ordained. You know, God didn't talk to him. What are you talking about? And it falls apart. It falls apart really quick.
All religions have a weird basis.
So does atheism.
Okay, so
Now
we're going into
what? We are already a lot over, and I actually do have stuff to do, and I'm assuming some of us may also. And because the next several Hispanic, woman, Jewish, Black, Catholic, I don't expect much controversy. We could dissect why. We could
Zach's gone. There won't be any women controversy.
We could dissect why, but I think we're going to leave it at that.